Right. 8 February 2024. And today I've got a whole bunch of stories as usual. Every day I try to give you all the latest stories so that we provide more media coverage in our country. As you know, there are many places in our country where there's no media coverage across Zimbabwe. And many people rely on this broadcast that I put here in the morning to know what is happening in the country. And I try my best to give you all the most important stories in the morning. And then during the day, our news readers, they will come and give you updates, short updates as things happen. But today I've got a number of important stories. And as usual, I'm going to start with Nelson Chamisa. Nelson Chamisa is my favorite politician in Zimbabwe. Everything that he does, we watch it very closely so that we understand what's going on. I'm also going to give you what's happening with Thabani Mpofu. So this is the tweet that Chamisa put out yesterday. How the new looks like. We must reaffirm our commitment to building a society grounded on ethical principles. We need a moral revolution, reformation of manners and values, reset, a new civilization. We need polite souls. We must treat each other with respect, love our neighbor, and protect the innocence of our young ones by saying no to child marriages or abuse. Let's drive out hate and selfishness. Let's look out for the weak among us and prioritize clients' needs in all professions. Together, let's foster mutual respect between civil servants, professionals, and the citizens. We must be a society and with standards. Change is coming. Change takes everyone to play their part. Changes come when we are intentional and deliberate about it. Let's take action on what is within our control. Change demands effort. We just don't need the change of faces, but that change of heart. We need a software change, not just a change of hardware. It's the software issues most. It's the soft issues most. We are pivoting to happiness. Welcome to the bright future. So this is what Nelson Chamisa tweeted. And I can say, I don't know, guys. I think Chamisa will have to explain to me more what's going to happen with where he's going, the direction. So that is what I start with, the tweet from Nelson Chamisa. Always I look at it. I've looked at Mkwananzi. He didn't tweet, he retweeted something. Ostalos didn't tweet. Thabani Mpofu didn't tweet. But with a tweet from, surprise, Mudara Chombo. Mudara Chombo has tweeted. And he's tweeted something very important. So Mudara Chombo says, I recently had a deep conversation with Advocate Thabani Mpofu about his views on the current crisis bedeviling the opposing outfit. He clearly stated that he no longer wants to associate himself with the opposition anymore, citing issues to do with Chamisa's dictatorship character. I don't know if this is true. As I said to you, my sources have clearly said to me that Thabani Mpofu is going to be the vice president of whatever structure Chamisa is going to form. So let's wait and see. I don't know if that is Ignatius Chombo tweeting there. And you know there are lots of fake accounts. So let's see. I'm almost certain that Chamisa can convince Advocate Thabani Mpofu to become his vice president. So I really look forward to see what Chamisa is going to come up with. I know that CCC is important. They cannot get rid of CCC. They should not get rid of CCC. I believe that the guys in CCC must be protected. The MPs, the senators and councillors. So that whatever Chamisa is working on, we also have other people who are pushing the democratic agenda from another direction. So that's my view on this, and that is Chamisa. So every day we start with Nelson Chamisa here, giving you a view of what is going to happen in the new thing that Chamisa is forming, that is called the Blue Team. That is what they're calling it. Now I want to go to my headline story, and this is to do with the United States Embassy in Zimbabwe. So United States Embassy has got an acting ambassador. That is what PJ Nagoli said during his interview with Elaine French. So I've never seen Elaine talking myself. It was my first time to see her talking. I normally see her on tweets and on news items. So I want to show you what she said. So she said the United States Embassy has put in place visa restrictions on Zimbabwe in December. And the reason why they did so is because the election in Zimbabwe did not meet international standards because of, so the United States themselves are not the ones who are saying it, but other bodies like SADC, the EU, the AU, all these international observers, they're saying these elections don't meet international standards. So she says the Zimbabwe government has to do more. And this is connected to the African Development Bank process, which is to forgive debt. Zimbabwe is indebted, and they've been trying to cancel those debts. So the US Embassy says currently what is there is not sufficient for them to participate in the process of forgiving Zimbabwe's debt. So I want to take you through to what she said, a very small snippet. You should go and watch nrtv. Very good guys. They're doing a great job. I do not know exactly when they started being more consistent like they are, but they are very consistent now. I watch this channel quite often, so you can go and watch. The guys are doing a good job. So now let's listen to the clip, and then I'll give you my view on what the United States Embassy needs to do. In fact, what the United States strategy needs to be in Zimbabwe, and what the Zimbabwe government needs to do to respond to this. So let's have a look.
Individuals who specifically played a role in preventing individuals from standing in elections, or bribed and intimidated voters on election day, or actually delayed the ballots from arriving in some of the polling stations and prevented civil society organizations from operating in advance, during, and after elections. We feel that the elections showed that the government of Zimbabwe has not committed and implemented key reforms that they have said that they would. We felt that the elections fell short, free and fair elections, and fell short of regional and international standards. And honestly, we're not alone in that. Other election observer missions also felt the same. SADC and the EU came out with their own pronouncements saying that the elections fell short of regional and international standards. I think what's also key, though, is these visa restrictions are not specific to Zimbabwe.
Right. So I think you can go and watch PJ Nagoli and watch the full interview. This is very important. So I always say to guys, you must understand what the problem in Zimbabwe is. Mnangagwa and these guys, they don't want the sanctions to go. They actually enjoy the sanctions, because when you got sanctions, you don't have accountability. So if everything was fine in Zimbabwe and everything was working, and all the international organizations and countries were in love with Zimbabwe, and there was no sanctions, then ED and his people, they will have to account. They have to, right now they can just do anything and say there are sanctions. That's why we're doing this thing. So the United States here is saying Zimbabwe government, they cannot engage with them at this level because they've not done what they're supposed to do. But my belief is that the United States needs to do more. I understand that they've got a foreign policy, but they need to do more to assist people who are actually trying to make the situation work. So I do not think currently what the United States is doing has got a longer term effect. So when I talk of a longer term effect, so let me give you an example. That they've taken 3 journalists in the United States, and they're taking 2 more this year to observe the elections in the United States. But because of how difficult the situation is in Zimbabwe, journalism is collapsing in Zimbabwe. So if you see someone is running a media house, they're struggling. And the United States Embassy needs to help those people who are running media. Right now, Hopewell Chinono had to run from Zimbabwe. If you look at some of these letters that are there, he's being chased by some guys who are saying they need to take him to court. He's been taken to the Minister of ICT. His employees were abducted yesterday. One of his employees, if you go to Gambako.com, you see that story. And I personally, at Gambako Media, we have had over 20 YouTube channels which are covering almost 90% of the news you see. They're coming out of Gambako Media. Most of those guys, they've got no income, they've got no revenue. And this, we've been running this for 10 years. So in terms of media freedom, the sanctions are actually making it more difficult for the guys who are operating. Our guys had to leave Zimbabwe. Most of the guys are operating from outside because it's not conductive and they're not sure what is going to happen. if you open in operate in Zimbabwe. Most of you don't know this, but during COVID, Zigo was arrested and spent a weekend in jail over some flimsy issue with a mask. And I was not sure if it was the mask or if it was people following him around. Our web designer, the guy who designs our website in Gweru, was accosted and robbed. I don't know what happened there. And similar thing, an armed robbery on Dr. Fedus Mteneri in Botswana. We're not sure what that was all about. So, and I can't even start telling you about the hacking on our websites. Gambako Media right now has got, I had to restart our YouTube channel 5 times from scratch after false reports, bringing down YouTube, Facebook. So our revenue sources are being attacked on a daily basis. If you take what I just said now, what does that leave? That leaves ED. ED who owns the public media and the private media. So I want to take you on the same note for what Newday is saying today, in connection with what Elaine is saying here, Ambassador Elaine French is saying. Today, the Newday is reporting that SADC has now said there are no fresh elections, which is lies. You know for a fact that SADC has not changed their position. And Chamisa has said he's approached SADC for fresh elections. But if you go to Newday today, they are leading with the story that there will be no fresh elections in Zimbabwe because SADC has entered a deal, which is not true. So these kind of things, they happen because the democratic space is there, but it's not supported. There's no support. And the US, although they've got the stick for ZANU-PF, I think they need to do more then to cover the gap that has been created on the side of the people that are fighting the democratic cause in Zimbabwe. It's a very, very hard fight. It's very, very difficult to do this thing without support. How many days have I been broadcasting here since before the elections? That is over 365 days. I started this in February 2023. We need channels like this, not one, but we need, let's say, 50 channels which do this, what I'm doing now, covering different kind of news. But that's not there. And I'm not even talking about news. I'm talking about the suffering that is happening among Zimbabweans. Those sanctions, they are a short-term measure, although they've been long-ranging or they've ran for a long time. What the states need to do in Zimbabwe in terms of a strategy is to put in place a 30-year strategy, which I always say a 4-year strategy is not enough, or a 5-year strategy. You need a 30-year strategy on Zimbabwe. What will Zimbabwe look like after Mnangagwa is gone, after Chamisa is gone? What do we want to have? And then we put in place the programs that assist us to get there. And this is where I think there's more engagement that is required. I've also made my comments on the Africa strategy of the United States. They've got an Africa strategy, which was also published, I think, about a year or 2 ago. And these things need to work together. We need to see movement on this front. I know that Mnangagwa rigged, but they will never do anything about it. They actually enjoy the sanctions. So I think that is my last word on that. United States Embassy, they've came out for the first time, I think, in person in a video to say those elections were not free and fair, and ED needs to address that situation. It's not done. It's not finished. So I think I now need to go to the SADC issue. So if you go to newsday.com, you see that they are leading with that story, that there will be no fresh elections in Zimbabwe, which is totally untrue. There will be some sort of power sharing arrangement as soon as Chamisa and the guys on his side sort it out, as soon as they deal with the issues. There's a lot of issues on the side of Chamisa which need to be addressed, and the issues related to his relationship with Tendai Biti, Mumbengegwi, and what to call this, Chavangu. So I just want to show you the screen so that you can go and look at that newspaper. You can subscribe on WhatsApp. There's this WhatsApp subscription for this newspaper, Newday. This newspaper was bought by Mnangagwa recently. So Mnangagwa now owns this newspaper. So SADC shuts door on Zimbabwe's fresh polls. What they're saying here is Mnangagwa, because he went to He sent Mumbengegwi to go and talk about the Liberation Museum, and the SADC executive chair stood next to him. Then that means that there'll be no fresh elections. SADC has endorsed ED, and similarly they're saying Mumbengegwi went to AU, and because of that there's no fresh elections. And I say that is not true. The issues raised in SEOM are still valid. So Mnangagwa is not off the hook in terms of that story. Although now, because of propaganda and because you don't have enough media in Zimbabwe, that propaganda is going to travel and they're going to say this is how it is. But it's not true. And I can tell you that for a fact. Then I want to look at other things. Let's quickly look at the pictures. Divorce of the century. Zimbabwe's divorce of the century here. This is a crazy divorce. These guys are announcing their divorce. Very prominent people. They own a company called Casio Capital. So this lady, I don't know what she did, but the man has gone wild and is explaining all these divorces. Moyo, he's thrown her out of the company, and he has also announced that he's no longer married to her. So you can go and check that out on I think that is on Twitter. Then we've got the new ambassador to Mozambique has joined. It was with Mnangagwa yesterday. That is President poses with incoming Mozambican ambassador to Zimbabwe, Mr. Cavalho Moria at State House. I'm sorry, my Portuguese is not so good. And then let's look at another picture. Joyce Lin Zinda. She's been appointed as the Chief Executive Officer at Zimbabwe Building Contractors Association. So if you want to get your building done, there she is. Then there is Felton Kamambo is appearing in court. He blames Philip Chiangwa, the guy who used to be a millionaire, for trumped up charges. Then we've got Madinda Njovu has been appointed as the executive director at Highlanders. The Ngai Road is open. A portion of it near Blawayo is open. This is the West Road in Zimbabwe. Many people have died here. And ED, all the roads that is making, they last like 2 months. And then after that, they're gone. They don't come back. It's crazy. I cannot believe what I experienced when I was driving from Bedbridge to Bulawayo. As I always tell you, I had to sleep. I parked my car like on the side of the road and I just slept there. Because when I was driving, guys kept coming to my side and I also had to keep going to their side. And I realized that if I did this at night, I would die. In December, 22 people died under those circumstances because a truck had to swerve on the wrong side and up killing them. So let's look at other stories. Tucker Carlson, Tucker Carlson in the United States is going to be interviewing Vladimir Putin today. So that everyone is watching that. And then we have Chicken Inn not signing Mahachi, who has been released from the Ghanaian club. You know that Mahachi had a big story in Ghana, in South Africa, where with the child who was banned. And he almost came between me and my brother, Ezra. Remember with that thing, when Nakamba was saying this and Mahachi was saying this, and I was caught in between. So Mahachi has been released by the Ghanaian club after only a few months. And Chicken Inn was supposed to sign him. Now they're saying they're not going to sign him because they don't know how healthy he is. Then I had forgotten also another important story. Job Sikhala has been convicted and he's probably going to get a fine. The reason why he was convicted is because there was a story that Fadzayi Mahere posted of a child that was killed by a battle stick. That charge, he posted the same video on his Twitter. And Fadzayi Mahere was convicted and sentenced to $500. So the same charge, that is what Job Sikhala has been convicted for. And he's going to be probably given a fine. I hope so. I hope they don't throw him back in jail for that reason. Then I want to go to the story of ZESA. The Zimbabwe Power Company is saying that we're lying about them. So ZESA, you know ZESA. ZESA is a very big company in Zimbabwe. But the mismanagement there is shocking. So let's look at what they're saying here. They're saying, remember we carried this story, our robot read the story. It says the most, there's a post, right? Let me read this up. All right, it's saying 205, so I need to click this. If you go to their Twitter, you see that. We would like to advise our valued stakeholders that the contents of the aforesaid post are false and grossly calculated to misinform the public. And the post says Zimbabwe Supreme Court has ordered ZESA to pay Wicknell 33 million after ZESA CEO failed to appear in court. So our robot read this story, and they're saying for the avoidance of doubt, ZESA has no case that is pending before the Supreme Court involving the individual referred to the post circulating social media. So these guys are lying. Let me show you why they're lying. And ZESA guys, they cannot lie because these days the social media, so we can show them clearly. And here I'll show you the actual judgment, which was handed down on 3 December. Here is the judgment, right? This judgment is there online. Zimbabwe Power Company versus Intratech Zimbabwe, 127/2023, ZWSC 56. This is the full judgment here. Our robot read this judgment. It's 1 hour and 40 minutes. And they were ordered to pay. So they went in there trying to stop the payment. And the judges ordered them to pay. Makoni, Chiweshe, and Msakwa. Those were the judges. So the guys from ZESA are lying. Because Zimbabwe Power Company is the company which falls under ZESA. And ZESA is the holding company of Zimbabwe Power Company. So it's not true that it's a lie. It's true. ZESA is going to have to fork out 25 million plus. They've already paid 5 million. And the profit that Wicknell was supposed to make was 33 million. So they're going to have to pay this money. Maybe they will try not to pay him, but they've been ordered by the courts to pay Wicknell. So this is it. It's the way it is. There is nothing that they can say here. Zimbabwe Power Company, your CEO didn't show up to give evidence. What happened is that the guy, Wicknell, was the witness. Then ZESA sent a project manager, a junior guy who doesn't have access to the papers. So in court, he lost. Because when they asked him, okay, what does this document say? He said, ask the CEO. What does this contract say? He didn't have access to those contracts. So ZESA and ZPC, they're going to have to pay Wicknell 33 million US dollar. So that is it. No one is lying, and no one is going to get arrested, especially Gambakwe, for such a story, because it's true. And in fact, Gambakwe does not do fake news. I know that intelligence guys have been trying to spread the story that Gambakwe does fake news. Imagine if I did fake news every day for 365 days. I would have to be like a creative writer, right? Yeah, so that's crazy. So let's look at the comments, and then I'll recap. I want to quickly look at any comments. Samuel says, who is America and Zimbabwe? Did America meet with their Trump? Gambakwe is President Mnangagwa. He's President Mnangagwa. Don't go too much forward. Their policies have nothing to do with us. And then the police of Zimbabwe. So if you don't want the Americans to help you with debt, then fine. Don't talk to them. But Zimbabwe is in a deep problem, and they want to re-engage. So that's what the Americans are saying. I'm not, as I said, the ZANU-PF guys are not concerned about sanctions. They love them. They love sanctions. Imagine if you like being outside and someone sentences you to go outside. You will love it. This is what ZANU-PF guys love. They can change the currency. They won't have to commit to anything. They won't have to answer to anyone, because they will say, you gave us sanctions, so why are you talking to us? So this is why I'm saying the United States needs to have a 30-year strategy parallel to all that they're doing now. What will the states be doing in 30 years in Zimbabwe? The sanctions are obviously not the solution. It's working for the political side, but we need something on the ground, something that is going to assist everybody. The ZANU-PF don't care about these sanctions. Now let's look at one and one. With the mess of CCC, how could Chamisa claim victory? How much is Western social media manipulation? No. The dispute is between Chamisa and Mnangagwa on the presidential election. Right now there's a dispute because ED has also sent his people to take away the MPs of the CCC. The whole thing is a mess. As you speak right now, there is no constitutionally appointed government in Zimbabwe. There is no constitutionally appointed parliament in Zimbabwe. Because whatever is happening with Chabangu, it's a mess. It's not valid. It cannot stand in any court. To just, if I come and I write a letter and I say, I'm now the one recalling CCMPs, that is not valid. Those are the things that internationally they won't be able to stand. The abductions of people that are happening and the murder of people. For example, Pastor Messiah was murdered during the Mapuku campaigns. The elections that are running now, you can see that they're not real. They're fake. How can ZANU-PF suddenly win in the cities? Now ZANU-PF has got 2/3 majority. Whatever they're doing is not valid. If we were to run a new fresh election today, which is supervised internationally, ZANU-PF will not win. And that is the truth. Then you correctly say Job would be sentenced 2 years, but set free. Saka, why didn't he rega? I'm sorry, I don't know if you're saying Job. This is an old court case. So Job Sikhala is facing old charges. These are not new. So he has got 3 court cases. 2 have been sentenced. Now he's got 1 more to go. But this one is going to get a fine because Fadzayi Mahere got a fine for it. Right, I think we need to end with Mkoma Buju here. Some people really don't understand how politics go. How can an intelligent person say, who is America? I agree. America is the most important partner that you can have. If you do well with the Americans, you do very, very well. If you're on the wrong side of the Americans, you won't sleep well. You know what I mean? You'll be like Edie. That's what he's doing. Edie is having a hard time to manage his legitimacy. It's not possible for Edie to be legitimate if the Americans don't recognize you. The British, the guys who, most normal people know that they will recognize you. They need to recognize you. Otherwise, you'll be doing one thing. Like Edie is doing his own thing right now. And he doesn't get it. So I want to wrap it up. Let me recap. And then we'll see each other tomorrow. Except if there's something big that happens today, I'll be able to come back. So the United States Embassy has come out and explained that the Zimbabwean election, they consider that it was not free and fair based on international reports from the observer missions. So that is the position of the United States. On the other hand, Mnangagwa said SADC has endorsed his re-election because Mumbengegwi was standing next to Executive Secretary of SADC. So the fact that Mumbengegwi stood there, he's saying that means SADC has endorsed the election. That's what he says. And it's in the Newday newspaper, a newspaper that Mnangagwa owns after buying it from Newday. And then we've got the story of Job Sikhala being convicted, and he will probably be sentenced today for a story where he posted a video of a child, a mother crying, saying that a child has been beaten and died by a policeman. And then ZESA is lying that there's no judgment against it from the Supreme Court against Wicknell Chivayo, where they were ordered to pay 33 million because their CEO didn't come to court. That judgment is there. You can go and look at Gamboko.com. We've read the full judgment. Our robot has read it. 1 hour and 40 minutes. Everything's there. And then Carlson is going to be interviewing Putin today. Internationally, that is the most important story that is there. Putin has never been interviewed by any Western journalist. And we're going to see that today. So everyone is watching Tucker Carlson. If you type Tucker Carlson today, it's everywhere. Everyone is smashing him for that. And they're saying, why didn't he go to CNN? Why did Putin not go to CNN? Why did he not talk to these other guys? But this guy is crazy. I like crazy people. In fact, when I see someone who can go to Russia and do that interview, and they're not even working for a big TV station, that means they're doing a great job, even though people don't like it. So this is it for today. This is my update. I've talked for 30 minutes. I'm not talking longer than Makandiwa. This is crazy. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching. And I'll see you again very, very soon. A good day.